on our call before we got to the pod was that there's like a structure to having a financial plan.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through that?
Like I said, I like to think of our finances like a house, and if we're trying to build a solid house, you want to start with the foundation.
So that you had a credit score in the 400s. What happened? How did you get to 400? Tell us that
Yeah, so it was 476. I pretty much had like a phone contract, and it went to collections, and all of the missed payments and everything like that brought it down.
If you can find a man who is secure enough within himself to stand in that space.
What's your immediate reaction to that? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Hustle Over Everything. This podcast will receive stories, tips, and tactics from entrepreneurs who have done it. I'm Alex.
And I'm Ono Sinde.
And today we have a treat for you. We have the financial educator, the licensed financial educator herself, Shay Myers in the building. Shay, how are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Yes?
Thank you for having me.
Most definitely. To kick things off, I want to ask you, what has been the most stupid, expensive thing you bought?
Oh, this is going to be good.
Stupid? Wow.
That's a good question.
Yeah?
I don't know if I'd classify anything that I've purchased as stupid, to be completely honest.
Okay.
Yeah. Other than when I was younger and I didn't have money to spend, but I was spending it on clothes and shoes. Like, I would say that. But now that I'm a little seasoned in my journey, I haven't spent money on wild things.
So
Actually, you know what? Actually, yes. And you know what? It wasn't even that expensive. But for my birthday last year, I bought a bottle at the club.
Like $1,000 bottle.
No. And I got a discount too. And I was still like, see, this is why the club life is not for me. So I got a discount, and it still ended up being like $250 because I had to tip, you know? And it was a great experience, but I'm a pre-drink girl. So like that, to me, even though it was for my birthday and the experience was great, I'll probably never do that again.
I feel you
Yeah.
on that. I feel you on that. I've never been the bottle person to be in the
No.
club like, yo, let's go pop
No.
bottles.
Drop money in the
Look at
bottle?
my name on the sign.
The
Oh
bottle
my
girls,
gosh.
the bottle girls coming through. Alex.
No.
Bro, you at least gotta
It's-
experience that once.
Bro,
Yeah, for
definitely
real.
One
not.
time for the
Definitely not. I
culture.
don't want to go to that Niagara Falls. No.
What do you mean Niagara Falls?
It's a Niagara Falls. It's one of those things you might do once and then you're like, all right, nah.
Yeah.
Oh, like everyone's
You know?
dream is to go to Niagara Falls.
At
like,
least
if-
once and see
Yeah.
it
That's
once.
like every
you know?
immigrant's like dream. Niagara
know what I'm
Falls,
saying?
bro.
But if you're
And-
splitting it,
If you're splitting,
it's not bad. I think for me, I wasn't expecting anyone to chip in. It's like a bottle. I got a discount too. It was like, But yeah, it's just not my steez.
To be honest, what gets me is looking at the girls. Like, looking at the girls in their face are like, deadpan, straight
bottle
face.
girls?
The bottle girls as
Yeah.
they're bringing out the pan.
It's
They're
like, do you like your job? Yeah.
and I'm like, what's
For
going on here?
real.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
You know, like this
Yeah.
waving out their hands up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it is a tough one. Buying bottles. All right, what about you, Owen?
My most stupidest purchase?
Yeah.
Oh man, I've made a lot of crazy purchases over the years. Man, I think I bought one time when I first moved into the condo. I bought a record player, and I'm not a guy who listens to records. I like the idea of like playing records, but I like the aesthetic of it. That
Right.
it's just sitting there. It's a good piece, but
Yeah.
when I really think back at it, I've never really gotten the utility that I paid money for that record player. So it just sits underneath my TV. And I wouldn't say it's a stupid purchase, but the reason I say it's stupid now is because I've never even pressed on that thing.
Yeah.
Or even had the interest to go out to some record store and find some records and try this thing out. I just bought
Yeah.
it for the look. So I don't know where my mind was at. As soon as I just saw Amazon Prime, this thing is gonna be here tomorrow. I'm like, fine, okay, purchase it.
For the aesthetics.
The aesthetics.
Nah, honestly
Yeah.
though,
For more function.
it adds more aesthetic to the
It
root.
does.
To the,
It
to
Yeah.
does.
the
Especially when
root,
it's under
though.
the TV, that brown
Yeah.
mahogany look to it.
Mm,
It just goes really well. But if you're not gonna play any music,
yeah.
what's the point?
There's probably resale value in that.
Yeah, I mean, at least I should have bought at least a vinyl. just to say I have a
Yeah.
vinyl. So now when someone
That's
comes
true.
inside, they're like, "Oh wow, you got a record player?" It's like, "Oh, yo, like, what's your favorite record?" I have nothing to say.
You gotta think quick.
I gotta think quick.
You know, it was
This
passed
is-
down from my great
grandma,
granddad.
You know, I'm just getting into music.
Yeah,
You know,
gotta be creative.
even just having just one disc,
Yeah.
just to play, that would have
Yeah.
been. I don't look dumb.
Yeah,
You know, being that guy, just trying to acquire taste, but it's not really a part of you.
yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
How about you, Alex?
I have a few
Yeah.
stupid purchases. I won't even lie. I bought a bad laptop.
I hope it's not like an $800 T-shirt.
Nah,
Mm,
actually, I have one, and you
what?
roasted me for it too.
Which one? What was it?
The haircut.
Which haircut?
I bought $100 haircut
When was this?
during COVID.
Oh,
Oh.
I was dying.
A
And I was
$100
like,
haircut, bro.
and I was
snap.
like, I want a haircut so bad. I'm dying.
Yeah.
I made a
One of
man
those Zoom
come
calls.
to my house to give me a cut, and he charged me $100 for the cut. You know, and Owen was like, he was like, bro,
Yeah.
what? You are tripping right now. $100
Yeah.
haircut?
$100 cut, bro. That's
Yeah,
criminal.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I
That's-
feel that because at least for me, I'm very simple, but when my eyebrows are done, I'm like, you can't tell me nothing. So I feel like that's kind of similar to people who get haircuts. It's like you feel different, you feel better. So, you know, I think that was an investment in your personal care.
Mm.
You just gotta twist the words a little bit, make it
Yeah.
sound good, you know?
Well, you know, like, you know, as a dude, you know, there's like cheating on your barber, right?
Oh, yeah.
That is like very haram, you know. So
Mhm.
for women, what is that?
Cheating on your hairstylist,
Oh,
your
there's such a
hairdresser.
thing?
I did that once and I regretted it. Yeah.
So like, because women's hair is different. Like, how do
Yeah.
you go to different hairdressers because they
Yeah.
have different strengths? But a barber
Mhm.
knows your head because it's like he knows the grooves and everything. Hair is like poofy.
Yeah.
So how, like, what constitutes a cheat in that?
So I've been going to Cloud9 Curls for the longest time, and she wasn't available, and I wanted to do like a silk press, like a straighten, and I went to a salon to do it, and it was just a horrible experience. So it was just a different hairstylist. The energy was off. It was giving, woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and I just should have
It was a
been
disaster.
patient and waited for my hairdresser to be available.
So say patience
Yeah.
is a virtue. you know?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
it is.
I feel you. I
Yeah.
feel you. Speaking of patience, you know, when it comes to budgeting, that's one of the big things when it comes to it. You know,
Yeah.
so getting into your budget, you know, from when we talked, you said that you had at one point a credit score in the 400s.
Yep.
Walk us through
Can't
that.
imagine
How-
that.
That's like
Yeah.
no credit.
Yeah.
Sorry?
400. That's like essentially no credit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
walk
think it
us
starts
through.
at 3.
So it's a 3.
This is
300.
three. Guess I didn't know that.
Yeah. 300 to 900.
All right. So what happened? How did you get to 400? Tell us that
Yeah. So it's 476. Give me a little credit. 476.
story.
And I pretty much had like a phone contract, and it went to collections and all of the missed payments and everything like that. Brought it down. And yeah, at that point, I didn't know anything about budgeting, money, anything like that. So at the time that my phone bill went to collections, I didn't even know what a credit score was.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I became a debt collector that I learned about credit. The company actually gave us like a crash course on credit and debt management. I was like, oh, maybe I should check my score. And that was the first time I checked it. And at that time it was 476. And then I went on to get my first credit card to rebuild that. Yeah.
So how old were you when this happened?
So when I first checked my credit score, I believe I was 27.
27.
Yeah.
And it all resulted from this one phone bill not
Yeah.
being paid. So how much did you rack up? Like 2,000, 3,000? Was it that deep?
1,500.
1,500?
Yeah.
Oh shoot.
Damn. So your
Yeah.
bill was like maybe $50 a month, and you just let it pile up over
Yeah.
2 years or something like
And
that?
they would call me and be like, we got a payment plan. And I'd be like shaking because I didn't tell my parents yet. I'd be like, I don't want to say anything.
Mhm.
And then eventually I was like, okay, I can't do this. Like, collections is calling me. I don't know what to do. Can you help me? And we ended up doing a settlement, which I personally would not recommend. However, it is a good way to clear debt faster. So for those who don't know, settlement, you're paying less than what you owe as per the offer from the collections company. But it gets tricky. I would say this, if you can avoid your accounts from going to collections, please avoid it.
Yeah.
So after 90 days of non-payment, they'll send it to a third party and then they'll try to get the money from you. Once it gets to collections, it's kind of like the deep, dark side of the web. It's not cool because those third party companies sell your account around. And even if you do a settlement, like in my case, years later, someone can call me again and be like, hey, you still owe this money, which actually happened. But because I knew what was going on through being a debt collector, I was like, nah, here's the proof. Y'all can leave me alone now.
Yeah.
But, you know, maybe people who are older or, you know, not familiar with the system, they don't know and they might pay again. So it just gets real messy when it gets to collection. So you you just want to avoid that.
No, I completely agree with you. There's even a time when I left Ryerson to move out with my friends at a residence from Pittman Hall. So if you guys know Ryerson, you know Pittman Hall. We moved to a condo in Liberty Village.
Okay.
And I was like at my parents' house and we're like gearing up to get this lease. So I tell the guys, I was like, you know what? I'll sign up for the Rogers internet. You guys just e-transfer me every single month to do this thing. So one thing we did, the Rogers guy sold me on was like, let's get this internet and TV package.
Yeah.
So we move in, we don't even get a TV for the longest time. And we're paying for TV without even having a TV because we're trying to get furniture, we're trying to get all these things. Then things hit the fan between all three of us. Two of us decide to move out, and this other guy who stays back to pay for the whole condo himself, I'm like, hey bro, just send me this money month over month until like you get your own internet, then we can square it up. Months go by. Like I'm asking him, bro, transfer me 100 something, I think $110. Yeah. This thing keeps racking up. Every time I call him, he doesn't pick up. Every time I try and whatever, it's like, hey, we can't go to the residence if you don't live there and take off the internet. So Rogers is being a bunch of pricks about this whole thing. Yeah. So I racked up like $1,200 worth of missed payments. So Rogers was on my ass every day, and like the debt collectors, like what you were doing, they'll be ringing me all the time. So that time I'm broke, like I'm out of school at that point because I was taking a little break. I don't have a job. I have this mounting debt. Every time they're calling me, it's just like I even have my phone service anymore because I couldn't even afford to pay it, so they can't even reach me. Right? So I was just fucked. Yeah. So eventually I got a payment plan. And I don't remember even checking my credit score because I didn't even know what a credit score. I didn't have a credit card at that time. I got my first credit card at 23, right? It's like a Capital One secured card. Yeah. But those debt collectors, they will ring you. They'll find every single way to get in touch with you. And I paid it off 6 months, just grinding it out. Then I got my paycheck. I had like $400. It's like, man, okay, I can save this money. I can just pay off this Rogers thing and get it out my thing. But that story just set me up into like a financial frame that every time I get my credit card, I'm like paid off because I'm PTSDing off that story. You know, so it's a blessing in disguise in a way. Like when bad things happen with your credit, it just sets you in a financial path that you can actually think better and avoid mistakes or like that.
For sure. Yeah. And it's kind of sad because you want to be able to split costs with people, but it just doesn't always work out that way. So I'm a firm believer that, and this is going to sound weird, but if you don't want the money back, it's a gift. But if you want the money back, contract. So if you're paying for something and people are supposed to pay you back, contract. And I've had to do that with people.
What about petty cash? So petty cash, just let it go?
Yeah. So if someone asks you to borrow money and you don't care to get it back, then that's a gift. But if you're expecting that money back, something has to be in writing.
Yeah, those relationships take a hit when
your
homie can't even pay you back. You're like, bro, you gave me your word. You said you
Yeah.
have the money. Like, Wagwan, like, where's the money?
Yeah.
And they're like, sorry, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and then you just lose trust.
Yeah, because chances are, you know, if people are asking you for money, like they need it.
Mm-hmm.
So that also can be very telling that they need it and they need help. So it may be hard to get the money back.
Just let it go.
Yeah, just let it go.
Yeah.
Again, if you do want the money back, then something has to be written, some sort of agreement, because people will forget.
Mm-hmm.
Like people's memories conveniently
keyword.
just gone.
Oh, I owe you money? What? Really?
It's like, you don't remember the hour-long conversation we had?
So, oh yeah.
Yeah,
That
so
$500? Oh yeah.
that's kind of how I roll. Yeah.
But now I see you have the Jamaican island on your necklace.
Yes. Oh, by the way, someone thought it was someone thought it was Trini, and they were Trini. I'm like,
Oh.
so you don't know flags? Okay. Or not flags, sorry, island
Islands.
shapes, but hey.
Mm-hmm. What's it like giving a contract to someone in your Jamaican family?
Okay, I haven't done that yet.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, I have. So me and my brother have done real estate together. So naturally, he is an investor, and naturally contracts have to be involved because we're actually doing legit things.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And it's funny because my whole family, we live together. So it's like, I know where you live, but that doesn't negate the fact that he has a business and it's a real estate deal or agreement. So we've done contracts together. I have given a contract to a friend. They asked to borrow money, and it was a lot of money. And so I wrote up a little contract, and I basically said, you know, if you don't pay me back by this day, I'm going to be adding interest. And they ended up having to pay interest, but I got my money back.
Mhm.
There's a level of professionalism and seriousness when you are like, yeah, I don't mind doing this, but we have to have some boundaries here. So, and then of course that's protection for me too, because it's like there were expectations and you didn't meet them. And so if I decide to not talk to you ever again, it's not, why did Shay stop? No, like this is why. So I prefer to do it that way.
No, I hear that.
Yeah.
I hear that. Well, speaking of Jamaican, what was finance in your house like growing up?
Non-existent. So yeah, I would say I've always been very transparent about my story. Like I do not have a struggle story. However, my parents never talked about money. And my mom always just said save, save, save. But I didn't have a lot of responsibility. So it was kind of like, well, what am I saving for?
Yeah.
To the point where it was like, oh snap, I can't afford a Metro Pass, or I can't afford to like do certain things.
You're sneaking on the TTC. Yo, did you ever
Yo,
get fined?
I walked to there was a
Getting
point in
fined
time.
TTC is crazy.
Yo, there was a point in time I walked to the gym. My gym was 40 minutes away.
Yeah,
Wow.
I would walk to. I lost weight.
from walking.
Yes,
all that
yes,
cardio.
I was committed, but I couldn't afford a Metro Pass, and I didn't want to ask my parents, so I walked. You know, that was my struggle. No.
Yo, did you ever like during those TTC days? You know, sometimes you just grab a bunch of change and just dash it in
Definitely.
there. And like, what are they gonna do?
Clink,
Definitely.
Clink,
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
walk to the back. Like, you gotta keep this thing moving.
Yeah. Also, you know how it's $3.25?
Yeah.
Who puts the 25
It's
cents
25
in?
cents. Nah, yo. One time, like I was working at the Source, and I used to live on like Dundas and Bathurst to go to the Eaton Center.
Yeah.
And it's in the morning at this time, right? So I used to go to the back, and these are the old streetcars, not the new ones.
Oh yeah.
The two-door ones.
Yeah.
Right? The OG ones.
With the
And
stairs.
with the stairs, right?
Stairs.
Yo,
Shout out
I
to
had
the
to rack
stairs.
my brain. I'm like, wait,
Shout out
what
to the
did the
stairs.
old
Shout out to the
skateboards look like?
Are you making
That's
fun of
funny.
Rick Ross?
Shout out to all the
Shout out
pairs.
to the pairs.
Oh gosh.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I had a plastic Starbucks cup because I used to make my coffee at home. So like I can just walk to work with a coffee. I don't gotta buy Timmy's or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm there, and I'm like hiding behind everyone, and I get in the car, and You know, back in the day, they used to flash that little paper. Like, you know, that little transfer?
Yeah.
Like, you flash it as if, like, the guy in the front is looking at
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Flash
yeah.
it, right? I get in, and boom. Conductor, like, TTC fare inspector is like, hey, proof of payment, sir.
Oh,
And I was, like,
man.
choking on my own words. I was like, I was trying to get to work, whatever.
Yo.
So here, I come out, and then he's like, oh, so you can't pay $3.25, but you can get a Starbucks, hey? And I'm like, sir,
Hey.
listen, this is a plastic cup. I don't care. You had time to
Mm.
make coffee, you had everything to do, but you can't pay $3.25. And I'm like,
Yeah.
he's like, oh, what's your name? And I'm like, yeah, this is my name. Give me your ID. Wrote me out a $200 ticket.
Damn. This podcast is brought to you by Lather. Lather is a men's grooming line focused on using natural ingredients along with their invincible line. I highly suggest it. It makes you smell damn good.
See, I'm not with that. I'm not with that whole fair inspection, like fine thing,
Mm-hmm.
because you're trying to tell me that if I don't pay $3.25, you're gonna fine me. I think it's actually like $500 or close to $500 now.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna fine me 500. So if I can't afford, let's say I really can't afford the fare, you think I can afford the ticket?
Mm.
That
Two
makes no
bills.
sense. And how
And
much
you're a
money did
student.
you spend on employing? I know we need the employment, but employing these people who we all know love to target a certain group of people.
Mm.
I'm just over it.
You're done, eh?
Yeah.
Tossed in the towel.
I really feel like they could make TTC free. They made it free for the seniors and the kids. Big up yourself. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they could make it free for everyone.
Yeah, and those fare prices are not in your budget. You know, you're budgeting for fare, like especially those days you're budgeting for Metro Pass. That was like $125.
Yeah.
And if you're not abusing that pass every day,
Exactly.
like, it can be a sunk cost.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Like clean.
Pause.
Oh man,
I was gonna
Yeah,
say
okay.
clean the. They said during COVID they were cleaning the buses twice a day. I'm sitting in the corner and I'm seeing dust bunnies.
No, one thing that
Lies.
you know what always got me? Speaking of the streetcars, y'all remember sand being in the streetcars?
Sand?
Yes.
Oh
In
yeah, at the back.
front, at the back and at the
Yeah,
front,
yeah,
there would
yeah.
be sand.
What was that?
And I was like,
from?
why is there sand here? Bro,
They're trying to keep
Yeah,
the weight
what
down.
was
I
that?
have no idea. That's what it was?
I'm just making up shit.
Oh.
Wait, do you? No, I was literally about to say, oh, we know when people come from the beach and it's just sandy.
Mm.
It's not
Maybe.
enough sand.
Not enough sand.
not
But
enough
yeah,
sand.
there was bare sand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
just falling down a few times. But I was looking at it though. Her audio was still coming through. Like,
still fire.
mm,
It's
mm,
still good.
mm,
It's just
yeah, I was monitoring it. So where were we? We just came off at a streetcar.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now in Toronto, it's getting very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
The TTC is $325. The rent starts at around $2,500 for a 1-bedroom.
Yeah.
For someone that's budgeting, how much should they be spending on rent versus other expenses off their paycheck?
So a lot of people will talk about the 50-30-20 ratio. I don't subscribe
What's
to
that?
that.
What's the 50-20-30 ratio?
So 50% on needs, 30% on wants, 20% on savings.
Mhm.
I don't subscribe to that because I don't think that makes sense for everybody.
Mhm.
When I sit down with clients, I go through a financial needs analysis that pinpoints based on their income and their expenses on a monthly basis. What does the disposable income look like, if there's any, and how do we work with that? So someone could be in the negative, they could be in the positive, and basically working from that. So if someone's negative 500, should you be spending 30% on wants? Or do we need to address the income issue and or expenses issue, right?
Mm.
And then if someone, let's say, is plus 1,000, based on their situation, the debt that they have, if they already have an emergency fund, let's say, then we're allocating that $1,000 to the things that make sense for them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so individual. I think sometimes with finance, a blanket gets thrown on it. Like
Yeah.
everybody should be doing this. And you have theories or methods like Dave Ramsey. It's Dave Ramsey, right?
Yeah, Dave Ramsey.
I always
Ramit
mix him up with
Sethi.
the chef dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, and those are fine if it makes sense for you, cool. But I take a real individual approach because everybody's different,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So, but also the ratio at first glance doesn't even make sense anyway. Like, why would you want to spend more on wants than savings in general?
Yeah.
But hey, again, if someone wants to use that, that's cool. But I would rather take a more individual approach.
For those people who don't know of you, like the listeners, what do you do with your clients? Like, what is the role that you do, just so you can establish that part of your business?
For sure. So I'm a licensed financial advisor, licensed in investments and insurance, but I help with overall financial planning. So that's insurance, investments, debt management, budgeting strategies, estate planning, all of those things wrapped into one, taking a holistic approach to building someone's financial house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I also do financial literacy workshops.
Yeah.
So the starting point would be a consultation, just sharing more about what I do, what it would look like to work with me, getting to know the client. And the second step is the financial needs analysis, which is analyzing big picture view of what they have, what they don't have, and what they need to get to their goals. And I have to do that step. It's complimentary, but I have to do that step before I provide suggestions because I can't just pull suggestions out of my hat. I would love to, but it doesn't make sense. And a lot of people actually do that. So a lot of people are starting to talk about insurance, for example. People are coming to me, hey, I hear you. I get that this is what you want. Financial needs analysis. It doesn't matter what you're coming to me for. That needs to happen so that I can see your life in totality to figure out what we need to focus on. Because I find a lot of people will come to me and they think they need to focus on one thing and it's actually something else. So
What's the common thing that you see?
So one thing I've noticed, which is interesting, is that people actually have the means to save. Their spending habits are horrendous. And it's just because they don't track, they're unaware, they've never done an analysis where it shows them on a monthly basis based on income and expenses what their saving potential is. So they just assume that because they haven't been saving that they can't. And so it's a lot of, I have these goals and I'm just not able to save. Meanwhile, they're spending $2,000 a month on outside food. That's a real example. So
$2,000 on like Uber Eats?
Outside food, restaurants,
Uber Eats thing is
Uber
crazy.
Eats,
So,
a month. I
super
have a
convenient.
client who I said, over the last 3 months, I need you to write out every expense, every non-essential expense. And she did it, and it was $2,000 per month on outside food.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you know us, we love to tip, right? So like she must have had like maybe $300 on tips, easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. Actually, we had a guest that said that all their food is bought out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Last guest.
Oh, yeah, we have to remind me the name. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of people like that. Some people don't
Mhm.
have time to cook,
Yeah.
so they drop
And
money on.
listen, shout out to the busy people out there. I know it's hard to multitask sometimes, but preparing is key. I have a lot of clients who also say, I don't have time to do this, this, and that. What I've realized is that we actually have a lot of time, but we're spending it on things that aren't helping us. So I definitely can say I spend a lot of time on social media. An hour, 2 hours can go by easily.
Scrolling.
If I just cut that down a little bit, oh, look, I gave myself half an hour to make a local 1-2 meal, right? So the planning part, I know like it sounds boring, but I've realized as I mature that planning is such a huge part in success in many, many ways. And whether you dedicate time on a Sunday or a Wednesday or an hour before bed to meal prep, once you get into those habits and you get into that consistency, it's going to be easier to do it. But if you keep avoiding that or keep saying that you can't do it or you don't have time, you will start to believe that you don't, and then you'll never put the effort in to actually try. Also, too, there's meal prep companies as well. So you may save money by investing in someone to do the meal prep for you, and that way you're eating healthier. But nothing beats the delivery cost of Uber and like Uber Eats, and nothing beats the extra money that you do spend when you go outside. Like going outside, you just feel like you want to spend. That's why when I'm trying to save money, you will not see me outside. I will stay in.
Stay indoors. You step outside in Toronto,
yeah,
a bill leaves your pocket.
Literally.
It just evaporates.
Yes. Yeah.
Like it
And
just
I don't
clanks
even-
somewhere.
And I'm like pretty frugal,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm like, yeah, I could get another
You know,
couple plates
Shay,
of food.
This is interesting, right? Because like, especially young people live in the city, they're trying to date, they're trying to like do these things, and this topic about splitting the bill, right? You know, you're in a relationship, so it would be nice
Yeah.
to get your insight in when you were single, knowing the economy, knowing how much ride there and back is, appetizer, drinks.
Yeah.
What's your outlook on that? Like with understanding the financial obligation the guy has by societal standards,
Right.
and you having this frugal mindset, do you give them a break, or do you still stick to your norms of as a lady?
So I don't know if it's a theory or my movements, I guess you could say, is that if I invite you, I am paying. So I actually really never talk about relationships. That's actually so funny. I'm real like stealth. Like people don't know about me. I like to be real, but I am the type of person, if I'm interested in you, I will ask you out on a date. I don't have an issue as a woman. I don't have an issue asking a guy on a date or proposing that we hang out. Yeah. So if I offer like, hey, let's go out, would love to take you to dinner, that's me offering, I'm going to pay. Now, if it's the reverse, I'm expecting you to pay. However, I always come prepared because ain't nobody going to be doing that awkward thing at the end of the dinner, right? Yeah. So I never assume, which is why the communication prior is important. So if someone says, hey, like I want to take you out. Okay, great. Is this a date? Like set the standards. Yes, it is. Okay. So are you treating me? And I know it seems weird, but it's like if you don't talk about those things and set the expectations, then you have the drama that comes with it after. Yeah. So
people rely on vibes. So you're saying don't rely on vibes. Go actually ask direct questions.
Yeah, be direct. Like set the expectation. Like what is this? Yeah. And I don't splitting the bill, honestly. If that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do. I think there's so much societal pressure for everything. Again, with the expectation part, if it's like, I want to go out, but my budget is whatever, do you mind splitting the bill? And then if the person's not cool with it, then don't go out with them.
What do you think about $200 dates? There was this debate on Twitter. $200 first dates is the normal.
It's not that hard to spend $200.
That's true.
Yeah, like
especially inflation, though.
Especially the new restaurants that keep popping up.
Yeah,
Isabel and Annabelle and whatever, then
Margot
and Mark
like
and
first name. If it has an Italian name, it's over.
The Greek ones,
just feed
that
stuff
Greek
yourself
one,
up with bread.
Yeah, like they're expensive. So, you know what? Can we like rewind for a second? Because now I thought of another stupid purchase that I made just 3 weeks ago.
What happened?
I bought Don Julio shots and I didn't know how much they cost.
It's like $18 a shot.
No, it was $28 per shot.
Oh my goodness.
And I like to do double shot because one shot is not doing me.
Yeah, they're stingy with that first one.
Anything. So I pretty much, it was like a brunch thing, but I ordered a drink prior. And because we moved from the patio to the inside, the lady wanted to close off the bill. So I'm looking at the bill like, what did I do wrong? Like, why does it say $68 or whatever, how much it was? And then I realized that each shot, I'm like, yeah, of course she wouldn't tell me that, So that was, it is never that
finesse.
serious. 1800 does just fine. Yeah.
Jose Cuervo does just
Yeah,
fine.
that hurt. That really hurt. I was like, never in my life will I do that again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you don't even get a buzz after that shot. It's just like $80 gone.
No.
You know what thing that was my stupid idea? That's a stupid expense that I did. I bought a trip on credit. That was stupid.
Recently?
Not recently, but bought a trip on credit. I think that was a dumb thing.
How's that dumb?
Because I think a lot of people think that, I always make it back in no time, but that thing sits on your credit and you got to pay that down.
Yeah.
I finessed it. The way I finessed it is I increased my credit limit and then bought it. So my utilization rate. As you laughing at me in the back? Are you laughing at me? Talk.
Yeah.
I was like, Bob is snickering.
That is a good finesse.
It's a good finesse.
Yeah.
So my credit card, my credit doesn't get hit by it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it stays under 30. That was like, but other than that though, definitely wouldn't do that again.
Yeah.
In terms of,
Wait, do you at least get points though, or some sort of rebates?
for sure, yeah, I got points, but like the points to value was not worth it. The
Not
amount of
worth
time
it,
it took to pay it off,
Yeah.
definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not. Do not suggest.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
2 out of 5 stars.
Can we not skip over that 30% utilization rate though?
Let's talk about it.
Because a lot of people do not know this, and people are hurting. Their credit scores are hurting because they think that they can rack up their credit card and then pay it off the next day and everything's going to be dandy. Utilizing more than 30% of your credit card limit is one of the worst things that you can do next to missing a payment. So something's got to give, right? And with the clients that I sit down with, a lot of them, it starts off noble. Like they want to use their credit card for everything because they want it to increase their credit score. But then when it piles up and you can't keep up with the payments, it's doing the opposite, right? So one way to combat that is you could increase your limit, but you could also get multiple cards, which I wouldn't suggest unless you're responsible. The real thing is creating that discipline and being responsible enough to know that this is just a thing that they've implemented and you have to keep it under 30%. And if you don't, your score will be impacted. So the choice is yours, but that's one of the biggest things I would say that I see when it comes to clients and their credit and debt. They have so much potential to have a great credit score, and the utilization rate is just killing them. Yeah. It's a big thing, and I think that was been like the biggest indicator of me keeping my credit score in good standings. What other credit tips should people know? So I would say instead of making the one payment per month, institutions like to see multiple. So when I first got my credit card, my first credit card, I was making the one payment per month. After a couple months, I asked my mentor, like, hey, my score is barely moving. What's going on? She's like, try making 2 payments per month before the due date. I started doing that, and in 6 months, my score went up over 300 points. Results not guaranteed, disclaimer, but I've suggested my clients to do this. My cousin has done this. My brother has done this, and they see a huge difference. So that's a trick.
Is that how you bounce back for the 476?
Yeah.
Multiple payments. Isaac has a question.
My bad. I just didn't hear what you said. Can you just repeat it one more time?
Yeah. So making multiple payments per month before the due date.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on credit card hacking? So there's a lot of guys and girls who get multiple cards for, hey, this gets me this many points for a flight.
Yeah.
This, if I spend at this hotel, I get this many points. And they just pile on all this credit. And one of the key things you said is the more credit you have, the more, and especially the bureaus, they'll be looking at why are you searching for credit consistently, and you just got this card less than 8 months ago and you want another card.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing to do, just to chase the rewards that you get from cards?
So I've also seen that. And of course, to each their own. But it's one thing to do that if you have the means to pay off those balances. But also, too, yeah, applying for cards, you know, it's usually over 2 to 3 in a year. They're looking at you sideways, right? So you want to be mindful of that. And then again, if you're just opening up these cards to get the perks, those perks, it's usually you have to spend a certain amount of money in a certain amount of time, right? So again, if you can't keep up with those payments, it's going to do more harm than it is good. And I just think people should, again, do things that make sense for their situation. Like, it sounds great, you know, like free flights, that sounds amazing, but you got to spend the money to get those points, and you just got to be able to stay on top of it.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
it's like we got these points and we're thinking, oh, I'm going to take that trip.
Yeah.
And it's so far away.
Yeah.
And it's not like we're abusing
Yeah.
our cards, taking trips. We're not like, you know, you're not like a business executive taking multiple flights a day.
Yeah.
So we live with this fantasy and idea that I'll be staying at this hotel. But how many times a year do you
Yeah.
stay in a hotel? Maybe less than 5, give or take,
Yeah.
for like little trips or maybe
Yeah.
a family event. And then how many
It's
flights do you
true.
take? Like
Yeah.
last year, I was like, did we take any flights last year?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. We didn't take any flights, but it's just like we rack up, like as a society, we've been told
Yeah.
for that one moment where you're gonna need this flight.
Mm-hmm.
This is why you should spend this. So it's marketing in
Yeah.
a way.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's crazy how like they twist your mind to think that you'll need this when
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity barely ever comes.
Yeah. Also, too, I've been hearing a lot, and it's mostly from American finance gurus, but they'll say to use your credit card or your line of credit to invest. And it's just the way they're saying it. It's like, come on, like, y'all just putting stuff together for clickbait. It'll be like, okay, so get 3 of your friends and each of you get a line of credit that has $50,000 on it. And what you're going to do is you're going to take that line of credit and you're going to go and you're going to put the money in an insurance policy. Or you're going to go and you're going to buy property.
It's the LLC gurus.
It's like, okay. And then you have to pay this back. Like, we keep forgetting that we need to pay these things back. And if we don't pay them back on time, interest is one of the biggest enemies to our money, as well as taxes. But interest on our debt is the biggest enemy, right?
Mhm.
So you can really get stuck in a cycle of paying way more than you borrowed if you continue to follow these kind of clickbaity suggestions. Now, if you're wealthy or you understand the concept of debt, because yes, you do want to utilize debt to build wealth because it allows you to use other people's money to build wealth faster. But if you understand how it works and you have a certain plan in place, it'll do what it needs to do for you. But the average person, I'm not suggesting you use your line of credit to go invest in stocks when your situation is a little shaky, because you're just going to be worse off.
100%.
Yeah.
Speaking of the average person, we have. I'm Segway King. If you don't already know,
He's quarterbacking.
I have some videos for you to react to. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna say that again
Yes.
because of the motorcycle. I have some videos for you to react to. So I want to get your opinion on this. All
Okay.
right. So I'm gonna give it to you, and you can press play out loud. So I'm turning on my phone, guys.
Mhm.
So there ain't no push-ups here. All right,
I'm
here you go.
done.
Swing it over to her.
Yeah.
Wait, what's this put? Is this a, if your phone goes off, you got to do push-ups?
Yes.
Yeah. Where usually we have the Bluetooth speaker on.
Alrighty.
The 95% joint model. And it breaks down like this. We have a joint checking account, and his paychecks from his job hit
Put the
joint
mic.
checking.
Put the camera to the mic.
Myself from my business, it hits joint checking. So all income kind of goes into this one pot. And this is the account that we use to cover all of our bills. We save from this account. We invest from this account for ourselves and for our kids. We cover, family fun, date night, all of these things get covered from joint checking. But at the very bottom of our budget, we have what is essentially fun money, and I call it hubby and wifey funds. So what I'll do is once I reach this section of the budget, I will split 50-50 whatever is left. So if there's $400 left in the budget to work with, he's going to get 200 and I'm going to get 200. And that money will go to our individual checking accounts. So we'll use this money for our hobbies. If we want to grab a gift for a friend's birthday, if we're going to get gifts for each other, we'll use hubby and wifey funds, and that way the other person doesn't know where it's coming from or how much it was. If I want to make an investment in my business, I'll use wifey funds. And we don't monitor how the other person spends this money. It works for us. We've budgeted this way for 6 years. Our joint income has varied a lot over those 6 years, but our budgeting kind of framework, our template hasn't changed.
Okay.
So what's your immediate thoughts on that one? I actually have one more. I'm gonna give you. What's your immediate reaction to that?
It sounds great. I personally am a huge advocate for having your own. And then when you get to a certain point, when you are in a relationship, then you join together. Especially if you have kids, if you have a house, there's joint expenses, then definitely. But I also am a big advocate for having your own emergency fund, your own savings as well. I say that sounds decent. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I have one more for you.
Okay.
All right. Here you go. Swing that over. And then hold it next to the mic as you listen to it.
Okay. See, that's my alarm. I'll do push-ups though.
Oh, no, well, you're okay because you're actually in the edited
38 years old,
section.
I make $132,000 a year. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, and this is my payday routine. After taxes and deductions, my paycheck is $3,345. I have a rollover that's already in my checking account of $3,037. So today we are budgeting a total of $6,382. Step one of my payday routine is always to look at what bills are due between now and my next paycheck. It is the beginning of the month, so there are quite a few bills, including rent, cell phone, a couple streaming services, my car payment, my bar membership, and utilities are all due for a total of $2,571. Once I've paid all of my bills, I have $3,811 remaining for my variable expenses and financial goals. Next up are my variable expenses. I put all of my variable expenses on a credit card, and then I pay that credit card off in full every Friday. So I do like to set aside that money in my checking account so that it's available for me to pay that card off in full. Variable expenses for me include groceries, gas, eating out, discretionary spending, personal care, as well as the allowance that I send my son who is away at college. Discretionary spending totals $750 this week. Once I take care of my variable expenses, I have about $3,000 remaining. I'm going to put $1,000 of that in my emergency savings. $1,000 of that is going to go into my travel savings account. And then the other $1,000 I'm going to send to make a tuition payment towards my son's college tuition. And that's how I do my budget.
I'm just gonna give you your purse. So you can Chosen Designs.
I love that people can
I noticed it
recognize
first,
it.
actually.
Yeah.
I knew I met you before. You have
Me?
a Chosen bag, so that means you probably know those people. I think I seen you at a
I
fresh
love the owner of Chosen Design. She's a sweetheart.
Really?
Yeah.
I like their glasses. Isaac has a lot of their glasses. He's showing me the eyeglasses. I think I might cop some. You know?
Yeah.
They do give a little bit of a fuckboy vibe. No offense, Isaac. You know what I'm saying?
I'm done. One more thing about Chosen Designs, by the way, I manifested this bag. I said I wanted a black purse from a black owned brand, and maybe like a week or two later, she dropped the bag. So, period.
It just happened.
I just
Yeah.
got to cop some of them bangs.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, no, that seems very detailed, and it seems like it works. Like the thing about it is that most people are not doing that. Like they don't have a clue. Like I talk to them like, hey, just off the top, like how much do you pay for your phone? It's like, like I could tell you I pay $67.80 for my phone bill. Like there's certain things, if you don't know it off the top of your head, it needs to be written down somewhere, because how do you plan based on maybe it's 60, maybe it's 70, right? Like they always say numbers don't lie. So we have to use the numbers to plan as much as we can. Obviously, if you're a freelancer, that is hard as hell,
Yeah.
right? But if you're making consistent income and you have certain fixed expenses and variable expenses that you're aware of, you should know what those are so that you can plan.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I actually saw another TikTok, but I didn't save this one, where a woman said, "My man has all the bills on auto pay, and that leaves me at ease." What's your opinion on bills on auto pay as a financial planner?
So I have my phone bill on auto pay, and I actually use a credit card to pay that. So at least I know every month that's getting paid. I'm always going to have money for my phone bill. Most people will always have money for their phone bill. So that's helping me with my score. Other bills on auto pay. What other bills do I have that are on auto pay? I guess like life insurance is on auto pay.
But it doesn't have to be your experience.
Yeah.
Just the general concept of
Yeah.
having many bills on auto pay.
Yeah.
Versus,
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't mind that
Yeah.
because at least you're not going to forget to make the payment. However, you have certain companies, I'm not going to say the names, robbers, that may overcharge, or even gym memberships. They be doing some shady stuff, right? So when you're not physically transferring the money, sometimes it gets messy, right? Sometimes you can get overcharged, undercharged, double charged. So even if things are on auto pay, I do think you should still be aware of what's going on. Like once a month, looking at what came out. That's another thing, right? Statements. People don't be looking at their statements. You got to be up to speed on what's coming out of your bank account, whether it's automatic or not. You should still be well aware of the movements of your bank accounts and what your statements are looking like on a monthly basis. So again, I like that idea with certain things, but it doesn't mean that you can just ignore the movements of your bank account. Yeah.
Big gems. Now,
Yeah.
one thing you said on our call before we got to the pod was that there's like a structure to having a financial plan. Can
Yeah.
you walk us through that?
Yeah, of course. So, like I said, I like to think of our finances like a house. Everybody has a house. And if we're trying to build a solid house, you want to start with the foundation. So the most important thing is not only having the right life insurance, critical illness, and or disability, but actually understanding what you have and making sure it makes sense for you, because it's a preventative measure. It's going to help prevent financial burden for your family, but also things like critical illness, disability help prevent financial burden for you if you can't work, right? Because a lot of people get into a lot of trouble with depleting their life savings, getting into a lot of debt because they didn't have the funds to take care of unexpected expenses, whether that was health related, losing income, passing away prematurely, or having to take care of, family members who passed away prematurely, having to take on the financial burden of that. So that's going to be the foundation, right? Next would be debt management. And I will say this, everybody's different, but this is the ideal way. So I personally built my financial house this way. The financial needs analysis that I talked about earlier, that's going to determine the priorities of said person, right? So obviously if someone is in the negatives, negative 500 every month, I'm not going to be like, but you need life insurance. Let's go. Let's get this now. Like, no, we need to figure out how to increase income and reduce expenses first. But ideally, you want to build it this way. After life insurance is debt management. So taking a look at how that person is managing their debt, if they can move things around, if they need to consolidate, if they're paying too much in interest, if they're making enough payments, and coming up with a plan to tackle it as soon as possible to free up more money in that way. Next would be emergency fund. So of course, we need an emergency fund to take care of unexpected expenses. Now we're suggesting 6 months of income because job security doesn't exist anymore and things are getting real, right? So coming up with a plan to contribute on a monthly basis to an emergency fund. And last but not least, investments. So it's at the top as the last piece, because if these other areas aren't solid or in place or in process, then putting your money into things that are risky may not be smart. But again, everybody's different. There are people that I've worked with who have everything in place but no investment. So obviously we take a look at their situation and then we can start there. And then other people don't have anything in place and now we're starting from the bottom. So life insurance or protection, debt management, emergency funds / savings, and then investments.
Big jam.
That's very
Yeah.
insightful.
Yeah.
That's very insightful.
And one thing too, I just want to say, because everything that I say or anything that I've suggested, I've done. So the multiple payments on the credit card, I do. I actually do 3 payments, more like 3 payments per month. So if my balance is, let's say $1,000, I'm splitting that up. If it's $500, I'm splitting that up. If it's $100, I'm splitting that up. It's worked in the past. It's working now. I'm not going to deviate from that. I'm protected. I have insurance. I have critical illness. My debt is under control. I have an emergency fund. So these things aren't just, me pulling them out of my hair. I use these methods to build my own financial house, and that's why I'm so adamant about teaching that to other people. Yeah.
With your financial house and getting to investments, you said you got into real estate. How was that process for you?
Yeah. So one thing I'll say, what's that quote? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So my brother's been in real estate for a very long time. I think since maybe 2014, if not before that. And when I started to get my finances together and he saw that, my score was increasing, because I was documenting my journey on social media before I started my business, he was like, hey, I am about to close on this pre-construction that I, got involved with years ago. Would love for you to be able to help with the mortgage process and closing costs. So because my score was so great, I was actually in the position to help in that way. And then I was able to also get a cut once they sold, right? So that was my first experience with real estate. And then after that, I started to give short-term loans to him. So essentially, he would be raising funds for flips. He would need funds for closing costs, lawyer fees, all of that stuff. And I would just loan him a couple $1,000s, charge him interest, and then upon completion, get my initial investment plus interest. So that was a hands-off way for me to still be involved in real estate, because I would still get updates on these projects and these properties and stuff, but I didn't have to do anything, right? And that's an easy way to get involved. And also you're not going to get that kind of interest at the bank. So even if it was a couple times, it was just 200, 400, 600, and other times it was way more, but that would be way more than I would get at the bank. So it was worth it for me. Also, that money would have been spent on crap. So I decided to throw it to that. Yeah.
Family wealth. I love it.
Yep.
Building from within.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, one more thing. There was one more thing. So there's a cottage resort project that we're involved in. It's about to pretty much mature very soon. I can't believe 4 years is almost up, but that's another thing where, he was seeking investments for that. And my initial investment, I believe, was $10,000. And then I added another $2,000 into that. So just, it doesn't always have to be purchasing your own property. And we know that, the market is quite, it's not as accessible as it can be, but the short-term loans is a way that you can participate. If you know angel investors or investors of any type, you can get involved that way.
This podcast is brought to you by Nyorai Cellars. If you didn't know, Nyorai Cellars is the only Black-owned wine company in Canada. Right now, I'm holding the Rosé, the 2021 Rosé bottle. This drink is amazing. I mean, it's perfect for those dishes such as seafood, where you're cooking shrimp, you're having some pasta, whatever it is you're having. Grab a bottle of Uri Cellars, the rosé. If you're having a date night with your significant other, you know what to grab. Grab the Uri. Whatever it is, grab the Uri. I mean, you will not go wrong with this wine. It's perfect for everybody. If you've never drank wine, this is a great bottle for you. Or even if you're a wine expert, you're an aficionado and you drink everything. I mean, you cannot go in Uri. I'm telling you, this wine is really, really good. And even though I'm boosting it this hard, is because I really love drinking it. And I'm someone who loves to drink wine. So whatever it is, whatever the special occasion, check on Uri. They have Sauvignon Blancs, they have Rieslings. I'm holding the Rosé right now. They have a wide variety of different collections of different wines you can choose from. Make sure to check them out. The link is going to be in the description. Check them out. Order a crate for yourself, or you can send a gift to someone that you want to gift some wine to. You can't go wrong with that. So in Uri Cellars, check them out. Link will be in the description. And now back to the show.
So
Big gems, big gems. All right, as we're close wrapping up, man. First off, thank you so much for being so open and transparent. I really appreciate it. You know, we have a lot of male listeners. Our social media has like a mix.
Yeah.
But our core audience is like 80 to 70% men. You know, so with men, discretionary dating is huge, right? What advice do you have for guys that are finding it challenging to date and budget at the same time?
Yeah. So I would say you definitely don't want to go into debt going on 20 million dates on like every month.
Like 3 Hinge dates a week.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I mean, the ideal situation is that you put money towards a fun budget. And if you have the means to go on dates, do that. But you got to make sure that the other areas are being addressed as well. So if you don't have an emergency fund, but you're spending $100 on dates, no judgment. We love you, but I'm looking at you sideways, right? So I definitely think that everybody should be looking at their situation and making sure that they're good, or at least on a path to be more organized and in control of their finances before they spend money on the non-essentials. Because dates, when you are dating, getting to know people, like that part is non-essential compared to the emergency fund and taking care of your debt and all of those things that are under your name. So just be mindful of that. And also too, I don't know, I feel like this is kind of like a lost cause. Like dates don't always have to be $200 dinners. I love the arcade movies. You know, ROM After Dark is like $30 and they have music and food vendors and art and all that stuff. You can find inexpensive date ideas. But of course, you have to be, you know, with somebody who appreciates those things. I guess eating out is the easiest date idea you can do. But let's get a little creative. Creative and budget friendly. I think I posted something like a million moons ago of inexpensive date ideas. I might have to repost it again for y'all so you can get some ideas.
Time's
make it
apart.
post,
Yeah.
Fellas.
Yeah. So there's so many things to do. A quick Google search will do wonders. Don't always think that you have to do a fancy dinner. And also know who are you trying to attract? Like, do you want the expensive, you know, person who is going to want to go out to eat all the time? Or do you want someone who's open to activities and going on a nature walk? Like, these things are fun too. Just saying.
It's not always about the bad and bougie.
I'm not bad or bougie. So, yeah.
To chime in here, as a former brokey, some days that I know that are absolutely fire and super budget friendly during the summertime is trips to Center Island.
Yes.
Big gem, fellas.
Just get a blanket and get a picnic.
Yeah.
Of course. Get a blanket, get a picnic.
Yeah.
Bring that Uri Rosé. You can get it at UriCellars.com.
Most definitely. She gets a boat ride.
Yeah.
Then when you bring it to the island, you bring it to the beach side. She gets
Yeah.
a boat and a beach and a picnic
Yeah.
And then you can bring games.
and a view of the city
Yeah.
on the way there.
Oh my goodness. All
Yeah.
the pics, all the
She's
content
in.
you're getting.
Oh, so here's a shameless plug because I love shouting out Black businesses. So one thing I think we all need to do in general is be more curious. So I do think that one of the very first dates should be actually getting to know the person. So there's a game, Black owned, it's called Convo and Chill. I don't know if y'all heard of it.
I love
Conversational
that. I love
cards.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, those questions, they're about finance, relationships, family, all of those things. Or you can even just Google some questions, like 20 questions to ask your partner or ask on a date, whatever. But that's also an inexpensive date idea. Like you can grab some food and then do that because, correct me if I'm wrong, we're not going on dates just to go on dates. Like we're trying to see if these people are candidates, whether it's for a serious relationship or not. So you want to actually get
That's
to know
very
these
ambitious
people.
thinking of you, Shay.
How?
I mean, like you're saying, like we're going on dates to get to know. Like,
Yeah.
No, yeah.
I
No,
mean-
whether it's serious relationship
Or
or
not.
casual, you're still trying to see if they're a candidate. So how do you
Okay.
do that? You ask them questions, right?
all right. Well, there's some dudes out here who just like have other ideas.
And that's fine.
They want to be casual.
They want to be casual.
Yeah.
But like not casual, like with the one person. It's just like a one night thing.
That's still
Okay,
casual.
fair.
It's still casual, you know what I'm saying? So
Fair.
me casual is like you're not committed.
Yeah.
You're seeing the same person,
Right.
but it's a transactional thing.
Okay.
You get me?
True.
Yeah.
So then in that case, don't ask questions.
No. One date thing that I thought that was really helpful for me was desserts. So yeah,
Oh, yeah,
it's-
you gave me this
Wait, what do you
idea
mean?
before, like,
yeah.
and I think I tried it one time. There's a place called Cacao 70.
Okay.
It
Oh,
was on
yeah.
Queen and Spadina.
Mhm.
They closed it down, by the way.
Mm,
It was like a dope ass spot. You can get crepes,
yeah.
coffee. It's like a
It
nice.
seemed bougie though. Like it.
It's actually very fair pricing,
Yeah.
but the decor and the
Mm.
ambiance in there was like very dark, warm colors. Especially in the
Yeah.
fall, it's a good fall place to go on a date.
Okay.
It's like $15 crepes at the time, coffee,
Okay.
and this is where you bring the girls for relationship material as a guy, right? You're trying to
Mm.
show you're serious a little bit.
Take notes,
You know,
y'all.
I mean, there's no other Cacao 7. Is it cacao? Is it how do you say it?
I think it's cacao.
It's
Cacao.
cacao, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's unfortunate COVID just brought
Yeah.
it down.
Mhm, mhm.
But
But listen, arcades. There's 2 in the city. Free. Wait, not free entry. It's like $5 entry.
Snakes
It's
and
fun.
lattes.
Like
snakes
if
and lattes.
I don't know. I'm being judgy. If you don't want to play a game of Tetris,
You're boring.
yeah, you know. But,
There's a
I-
lot of
but
girls
also
that do that, though. There's a lot-
but you know what? Just like an idea, because everyone's different. But I will say, with the arcade, it's like you can like. It'll bring out the competitiveness if they have any. Because for me, I'm like win lose, I don't care. But that's also a good tester too. Because if you're getting real mad that you lost, like extra mad, I'm looking at you sideways. So I feel like that's like a cute little test. Like it's fun, but it's like if you get too mad, I'm like, okay, like it was just a game.
It shows
Like,
a character.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
one thing we didn't do is put a number on it, because you said you should have
Okay.
6 months of savings, 6 months of expenses saved up,
6 months of income.
6 months of income
Yeah.
saved
That's
up.
ideal. Mm-hmm.
But 6 months of income. So in Toronto, in order to afford to live there, you have to make at least, I'd say, $4,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 months, 6 times 4 is 24,000.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd have to have $24,000 in the bank before you go on any dates.
So that's ideal, right? Everybody's different. Some people will start off with 6 months of expenses because that's less, that's more affordable. Some people will say, like some of my clients are like, I'm cool with having $10,000 in my emergency fund. So you can do multiple things at once. But I was saying earlier that if you don't got an emergency fund, if you got a lot of debt, if your stuff is not in order and you don't even have a plan to get in order, be mindful of how much you're spending on these
those dates.
extracurricular things
For
because
sure.
it's taking away from the priorities, which is making sure that you're good.
For sure.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
what I wanted to do, because I know how guys move.
Yeah.
If we give them a percentage, they can be like, let me go calculate that. That's work.
Yeah.
But they need to be like, 10K? 10K?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They
Give us
need
an
that.
answer and
They
go.
need that. They need
Yeah.
that. Hey, here's
That's
a number.
fair.
Take that with you and go.
Yeah.
You know? So
Absolutely.
I think if
Yeah.
you can give them a number, I think 10K is fair.
10K is
Before
very
I think
fair.
that's
before you
fair.
go on dates, you should have 10K in the bank.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
also a rule, like, even for general expenses. I was watching this show called Made in America. You ever
Mhm.
see it? It's on HBO?
For sure. They had Kid Cudi in there.
King Cudi.
Yeah.
There's a guy called what's his name? But one rich character who's a hedge fund manager. He's advising these guys who's trying to start a clothing line.
Mhm.
And one rule of thumb, he says rent should be 1 week's pay. That's what his mom told him.
Mhm.
1 week's pay. So if rent should be 1 week's pay, and if you want to know if you can afford something, multiply it by 10. And if you have that
Mm.
number, you can make that purchase.
Mm.
So you're trying to buy a new MacBook, multiply that number times 10.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have this? Okay, I can afford it. You're gonna buy that new car. It's a 50K car. Like, you're gonna actually own it.
Yeah.
Multiply that number by 10, and if you have that money, do it. Right?
Interesting, because I've heard if you can't buy it twice, you shouldn't be buying it.
That's another good rule of thumb
Yeah,
too.
I think that's also more realistic.
Yeah, if you're gonna buy it twice.
Yeah,
10 sounds crazy.
crazy.
10 sounds good. Like if I can't buy it
What?
10 times,
No,
What?
no, guys. Okay, guys. And girls, let me clarify that.
Please.
If look at the price of the MacBook,
Mm-hmm.
multiply that price by 10.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
If you don't have that figure, do not make that purchase. It's not in your wheelhouse.
What I'm saying,
Fam,
that's still crazy.
Yeah, a MacBook is like can go from like $4,000 to $6,000. So
Yeah.
$60,000.
Bro, a Mac is like 2 bags.
Not a good one.
Not a good one.
3,000.
That's like the mid. That's like the you're.
Okay.
teetering.
Okay,
If
no,
you're
no, no,
crazy-
no.
Let's keep it.
Y'all
Let's
can
keep it
get
general, like
MacBooks
a
at
MacBook
Best
Air.
Buy. My MacBook was like $1,700 on sale at Best Buy. So,
All
but
right.
yeah,
So-
MacBooks are expensive
35
as hell. Yeah.
3,500?
So his was 3,500.
My MacBook
So-
Pro Retina 13-inch back in 2013 was 1,800.
1,800. All right. So there's two different things because if you're creative and you're investing in that boy.
But bro, we're
Yeah.
talking general
All right.
expenses.
So if you're a general guy,
general
fair.
dude.
Fair. So if you're
Yeah.
a general, I'd say it costs anywhere from 17 to let's say $3,000 max.
Mhm.
So that's about 30K.
And if you can't pay that, then
That's
buy
wild.
a Lenovo. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nah, I
Lenovo's not
don't-
sponsoring the
Or
pod.
buy a compact computer. I don't know if they still make those.
Yeah, no, that seems wild. But, and then I also just want to clarify because I don't want people to feel like they can't go on dates if they don't have an emergency fund. You need to allocate a budget to fun. You do. Like, you need to have fun. But your priority should be the emergency fund because that's what's going to save you when ish hits the fan.
Yeah.
Right? So just the reality is you need to book a financial needs analysis with me so we can figure out what your situation looks like and if you even have the funds to be doing these wild excursions. But again, knowing what you're making, your expenses, if you have disposable income, it's all going to help you figure out how much you should be putting towards your emergency fund, how much you should be putting towards extracurriculars, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of advice, and I'll get into general financial advice you get on social media because
Mm,
everybody and anybody is giving financial advice, right? So number one,
seriously.
there's a lot of things you hear commonly, which is if you don't buy that $5 Starbucks, you can save for a house, right? That is one of them, right?
Yeah.
What are
Yeah.
your takes on those type of euphemisms, like where people are
Yeah.
saying, yeah, okay, just cut back on that donut or that whatever,
Yeah.
and you're gonna get faster to your. Does it really make
Yeah.
a difference, in your opinion?
Honestly, it can because it's not just about the $5 Starbucks today. It's like if we know about compounding interest, it's the compound effect. So doing this over and over again, every single day, every single month, or every single day, every single week, every single month, every single year for the next 60 years, it's going to add up, right? Do I think that you need to cut out your Starbucks? That's up to you, honestly. It really is, right? But it's usually not the $5 Starbucks. It's the $2,000 a month on outside food.
But the thing is, there's this whole idea that you gotta cut back on many things that you truly enjoy. There's some people that can't go away without their maca frappe.
Yeah.
I was like, what's that thing I got you yesterday? Matcha frap. They can't live without that. Like, they need a matcha frap, right?
Yeah.
So to tell someone, if you stop drinking a matcha frap, you'll be able to save for a house. So there's this big extreme of buy a house, cut back on Starbucks. No, I think the thing is make more money. And
that
then,
too.
Even within investing, right? There's this whole idea about teaching people how to invest. You have all these financial influencers talking about, I just made this trade, I just did this trade. And then kids are trying to find, okay, how do I get into this, right? So the big disconnect is telling people you need to find ways to make more money to invest. Because I feel like in financial investing knowledge, like all these people who are big, they skip out on that part and they talk about just the tactics of investing. But there needs to be telling people, okay, if you're making this income, these are the things that you could do. I think we gloss over that part of things.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I definitely agree. So needs and wants are different because you're saying that this person
they need that matcha
their
frap.
matcha. Okay.
They need the matcha frap.
Again, everything is so individual. Because at the end of the day, if the numbers say that you cannot afford this because you're in the negatives every month, and it's not just the matcha, it's all these other things that are making you in the negative. If you can't afford to pay your bills and experience luxury items, sometimes you have to sacrifice the luxury items for a little bit of time so that you can address your needs, right? Yes, this sounds extreme, but again, I'm going to go back to the point where it's the compounding effect, right? So certain habits that you do over time are going to have certain effects. So spending a lot of money on Starbucks over time is going to have a lot of effects. If you want to be able to pay your bills and experience the luxuries of Starbucks, you will probably have to make more money. And the reality is, with everybody's situation, there's only two real solutions, right? You either make more money, cut back on expenses, or you could do both. Like, if we're really trying to be black and white, you either make more money so that you don't have to cut back on expenses and your lifestyle, or you sacrifice some things, cut back on the lifestyle so that you can have more cash flow.
Yeah, it's even with budgeting too.
Yeah.
The idea with budgeting is that some people just don't have anything to budget.
Yeah.
And it's such a big disconnect. So that's what I find with a lot of financial gurus on YouTube, especially the Americans, right? I have a big problem with them because they glamorize this whole budgeting. It's become a whole industry. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And everyone is trying to get a piece of that cake of how to budget. And some people are just trying to get by. Yeah. And they fail to acknowledge those things. Yeah. It's like same thing with entrepreneurship. It's so glamorized. It's so sexy. Yeah. Start a business, raise some money. Yeah. All these hooplas, and now you're an entrepreneur. Yeah. But that whole iceberg, that's the tip of the iceberg. There's a whole lot of things that need to go into that. Yeah. For you to actually experience the benefits of compound interest and investing over and over. Yeah. Is finding a place that you can actually get a good income to see the dividends of what you're doing pay off. Yeah. And 1000%, like we can't ignore the fact that there's a system in place that is not designed for us to succeed. And also too, that there are so many other factors like the wages, the cost of living, all of that stuff. That's like it's actually full stop. It's like there's no way to what's the word I'm looking for? Dispute that. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Now, that's where the making more income comes in, but it's the kind of income. So as much as it's not glamorous and easy to be an entrepreneur, and because collectively we're not encouraged to explore that early enough, there's a gap with that. But if we're going to make
if we're going to make enough money to sustain the cost of living, we have to be in control of the income we're making. And unfortunately, that does not come from only having a 9-to-5. So we also have to start shifting our mindset to creating, taking more risks, investing in systems that allow us to start businesses without a lot of money and effort. And yeah, that's just it. So going back to what I said, it's either you make more income, you cut back on expenses. Unfortunately, that part is pretty black and white.
Something's gotta give.
Yeah.
Most definitely. As work is wrapping up, I have one last hot topic I'd like us to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
The good old guy, Tyler Perry.
Okay.
Oh, what he just said?
What he just said.
Was it like settle for less? I saw it in the rumbling.
He
of
never
Twitter.
said settle for
No.
less.
Of X.
I already
of
have my
X.com.
thoughts because, yeah.
So give
So-
context. What did Tyler Perry do?
Tyler Perry was on a show. I believe the show's called, if I can test my memory,
Keep it
Keep It
positive,
Sis.
sweetie.
Keep It Positive, Sweetie.
Mhm.
Look at that memory. My memory's coming back little by little.
You must have eaten a lot of fish when you were younger. Al.
No, the opposite.
Really?
Because my memory's horrible.
Oh,
know what
I
I'm
thought you
saying?
said your memory's good.
Mm.
It's coming
Cinnamon.
back.
Coming back.
Coming back.
Cinnamon helps.
Cinnamon helps memory?
Someone else? Okay.
All right.
Never
cinnamon.
tried it, so don't be coming at me if it doesn't work, but I've heard.
Mhm.
All right. So what he says is that, with women becoming high earners, they're
Mhm.
pricing themselves out of most men. So in order to date, they're going to have to date men that don't make as much money as them, but are comfortable in their niche of their level of income.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts about that? Oh, actually, one thing to say too, because he said this as well, the light bill. That was a big thing a lot of women were stuck on.
Yeah, so my opinion is based off the debrief that I heard on another podcast. And I think a lot of the times that is a narrative in general to settle, but I don't think that's what he was trying to say at all. And I think in this society, there's so much emphasis on money as like the be all end all. And the reality is that what would you choose? Like somebody who makes a lot of money, but like just isn't emotionally there, or someone who doesn't make as much money, but can provide you with emotional support and is thoughtful and plans dates and all of these things. Like the money part is not the most important thing. So I don't necessarily think he was saying to settle. I think it was more like, if he does not make as much money as you and he's doing what he can to contribute to the household, that's not a horrible thing. Like, are we passing up men because they're simply not making as much as us? Because with the whole entertainment industry, we have to talk about the influences of the entertainment industry, of how girls are getting flown out, they're being bought Birkin bags,
The Saudi
and that
princess.
expectation is seeping into Toronto culture.
Yeah.
And some of these guys are just not that, and some of the girls are also just not that too. So I think people should date who they want to date. Like if you want the high earner man, do that instead of going after someone who doesn't fit that and then being upset that they can't fit your expectations. Or if you don't care for someone who earns a lot and you care more about personality and all that other stuff, then do that. And then don't set the expectation of like, well, now you got to make all this money. I just think people hear what they want to hear based on their triggers and based on their own experiences. And that's just it. I think there's a lot of compromise that needs to come with relationships as well, though. Not just with financials, but with everything else. Like it's two people coming together. And yes, you want to be as similar as possible, but sometimes that's just not it. So how do you make it work for what you want? And then also too, if you're a high earning woman, I think naturally people around you will be able to level up because of how you're moving and how your lifestyle is. Like if you're the richest person in your group for like the duration of your friendships, I don't know, I'm kind of like don't you want to like inspire other people to kind of level up, whether that's financially or however that looks, right? Like I think most people would want their entire friend group to be successful. So I think naturally, like being successful financially and in other ways should inspire your partner to want to catch up.
Well said.
That was that was a great rational answer.
Yeah.
You know, lack of like the straight facts.
What do you think, Owen?
Based on what I heard, I agree. I think we've misconstrued what really a relationship is all about. We've now really made it all about finances and everything, which it should be, right? Because finances are a big part of it. But
Yeah.
I think we're missing on the true essence of why we relate to each other is because we're looking for companionship.
Right.
And if you have someone you're compatible with, who's a great companion, who offers you everything, I'm just gonna overlook him because it goes to what's that, Ebony Williams? Oh, he's a truck driver, and he
Not
might
an
be
owner.
making not an owner,
Yeah.
but he's making $180,000 a year driving trucks, or he's a plumber and they make racks, or he's a trades guy. Just let's say a general blue collar worker. You look over him because he is too rugged to go to that black tie event at the art gala that you guys are gonna go to, right? Or he can't talk art and etc. So you're putting these little moments that you don't know when you'll be at, but you are thinking at that time already, or you're going to like the club, like the you know, whatever club you're part of, and you're thinking, how is he going to be in these moments? But how about you're at home with this guy every single day, and what does he offer you?
Yeah.
Does he listen? Does he care? Everything you said. So we're throwing that all away for this idea that hasn't even manifested itself in true reality, but you're asking how will they fit in these situations, you know? And it's pretty unfair.
Expectations, like we mentioned at the beginning. Again, if you want that high earning man, look for that.
And the reality is that the higher you go, the less there is. You know, that's the reality. I do think, though, we do need to encourage our men to be entrepreneurs. I do think we do need to encourage our men more to be entrepreneurs and make more money. I do think there is an element of that can be touched on. I think with women making so much more money right now, I think the concept of dating down is that if a man makes less, that they're dating down, which I think it makes sense in some regards, but in a lot of times it's putting their eggs all in one basket when it comes to what serves them. Yeah. You know, so I think that is a real big point. There's so much focus on money instead of the other elements of the relationship. Yeah. As well, when in Tyler Perry's speech, he talks about the light bill. And I think a lot of people got hooked on that light bill statement. Yeah, and definitely. All he was saying is being able to contribute, like you said, not the light bill, because in the grand scheme of things, the light bill was like $100.
Yeah, $80
max.
Yeah.
Right. So if a guy can afford $100, then there's bigger things he needs to worry about. I don't think he was talking about the guy that can't afford $100 to contribute. He's talking about more. And if the girl has a label that's that much more expensive, then there's a real disparity. But the chances of that is in the everyday situation is not the case.
Yeah. And like also providing, people always automatically think providing is financial. But I think maybe because I do tap into a lot of relationship content, and a lot of the times I'm just like, child, this is so weird. But what I'm hearing, I'm hearing the kids are talking, and I'm hearing that it's not just the lack of financials, it's also lack of maybe like gentlemanness or protectiveness. So if you combine all of that together, then maybe misunderstanding Tyler's statement makes sense. It's like, if you're not going to be a protector and all these things make me feel safe, and you're also only paying the light bill, if they want to use that example, then maybe for them, it's like, no, I don't want to settle. But again, I feel like there's different aspects, and I think they're just clumping everything into one. But yeah, I just feel like, and that's why getting to know the person that you want to date is important as well. Because just something you said, it's like, if let's say you have the goal of being a homeowner and that person doesn't, you could take the chance to see if they'll change their mind. Or if you're set on being a homeowner, you can decide, you know what, I don't want to spend my time with this person. I'm going to find someone who also wants to be a homeowner. So I really think it's important that we take the time to get to know people a little bit more, so that we can be a little bit more aligned in the journey.
Yeah, I agree. You know, one thing we never talk about are the guys that are attaching their self-worth to their ambition. So when they're not meeting their self-worth with their ambition, they're horrible partners. And the woman is seeing a drop in that guy's quality as a partner because he's not matching his ambition. So when Tyler Perry's making that statement, they're thinking, oh man, I'm gonna have to be with a guy who has high self-worth and high ambition, but as soon as that ambition gets dropped, their self-worth drops too, and they're dealing with a guy with low self-worth. And that is a challenge as a woman, you know? And I think that's a big thing that a lot of women go through when they're trying to talk to an entrepreneur or a guy with a lot of ambition.
Yeah.
You know, but he wasn't talking about that. He was talking about a guy that's actually comfortable in the space. You know, so working towards wrapping up, man. I think we had a beautiful conversation.
Yes.
You know, you touched on a lot from interpersonal relationships to things you can take home and actually execute.
Yeah, to
guys
getting
have
fined
to have
in the TTC.
the TTC, the sand in the TTC.
Yep.
Guys have to have 10K in the bank before they go
10K.
dating.
Before you download Hinge, make sure you got 10K.
10K at least.
Bumble or Tinder.
You didn't say that. I said that.
Yeah. What he said.
Exactly.
Yeah, we can't defame you.
I know, right? People are gonna be like, "Oh my god!" And Shay said this.
So working towards wrapping up, where can people find you?
On Instagram, Finance for the Culture. No exclamation marks, no punctuation, just Finance for the Culture written out.
Most definitely. With that being said, hustle is what you can't control. So control your grind and control your life. I'm Alex.
And I'm Ono Sinde.
And I'm Shay.
That's the show, y'all. Peace.
Peace out.
Bye.